Yeah, Liam, Lucas Moura, for example, came from PSG. He cost 25 million. And when you consider, for example, Fred, who cost 59 million euros, that is, that was good business. Moura was very impressive tonight. His pace and the finishes were, clinical.
Yeah, without doubt, Eamon. But he took a while to settle, hasn't he? This is the first time he's really announced himself.
Yes.
And he's been at Spurs for a while. And I think, to be fair to all the foreign players, particularly if they're South Americans, the difference in the culture of football in England compared to where they're coming from, whether it's continental Europe or whether it's South America, is immense, and it does take them time to settle in. And Moura really showed his quality on Monday night, whereas Fred, in the games I've seen him, has struggled. But you have to give him maybe a few months to get acclimatised to the game in England before we either make a decision to write him off or to say he's a very good player, because if you go back to Moura, we could have said the same things about him last season.
Yeah, just let me ask you, and I'll ask Didi in a moment because he's in a position to answer the same question. When you moved to Italy, Liam, from English football, did you have a similar period of adjustment to the Italian game?
Yeah, absolutely. It took me, 3-4 months before I started to play like I knew I could, or Juventus expected me to play, because you just need to get to know the way the opposition play against you. For me, having time on the ball in Italy was never a problem. It was the fact that defences retreated and defended the last third of the pitch, and you had to be clever and you had to be patient to break a defence down. Whereas in England it's quite the opposite. Maybe not so much in modern English football, but in my day, it was crash bang wallop, and I think to a certain extent, it still is to this day, and that's why continental players, whether they're from Europe or whether they're coming from South America or Africa, they need time to really acclimatise to what football's all about in England. You simply don't get time on the ball.
Right.
And
the
it
tempo
was quite the opposite in Italy, but it was more tactical aim, and if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do absolutely understand that the key bit of it in the last third of the field was the safe, and it was locked.
Absolutely, yeah, and by good defenders as well. The Italians pride themselves on defenders. If you look at English goal scorers that have gone to Italy, they might score 30 plus goals in England, but they'd be lucky to get 15 in Italy, and I think that says it all.
Yeah, I mean, just before I go to Didi on making the reverse journey from Europe to England, Ian Rush, I know, went to Italy. How did he do when he was there?
Ian scored. He didn't play like he played at Liverpool.
I mean, he's a brilliant striker.
But I don't think Ian Rush ever really wanted to go to Italy. I think he kind of had to go because of the money that was involved and the fact that Liverpool were prepared to sell him. I think it was just too good an opportunity financially to miss. But I don't think Ian ever went there with the feeling that he wanted to stay there, or the feeling that he wanted to settle there. And I think that didn't help him. And I think he scored probably about 12 goals in his season at Juventus.
Right.
And they expected a lot more, but it's not easy in Italy playing against the defenders who have that mentality.
Yeah. And Didi, Ian Rush was a great player in the English game. Just in terms of adjusting, Didi, when you came to play in England, was there a long period of adjustment for you, or did you get into it pretty quickly?
100%. You need time to adapt and to adjust, because it's a completely different game in the Premier League. I came to the Premier League in '98. I played the first. I got injured in the third game, unfortunately, against Liverpool, playing for Newcastle. But the the thing that shook me or woke me up was we played the second game at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea, and there were a couple of challenges from Leboeuf or myself where stayed on the floor, expected a free kick and probably a yellow card for the player, but the game just went on. So you have to make a decision. Well, you can't stay down in England, and obviously you've got to play till the whistle blows, and you can't fool referees in England into buying a free kick or giving a free kick. And that was really the thing that the changing point for me in the second game. Unfortunately, it happened so early. Unfortunately, I got injured in the third game, and then I was out for 8 weeks because I did my ligament in my knee. So when I did come back in October, November, it probably took me another 4-6 weeks to get back to full fitness, and then I knew what the English game is all about. So I would say a 2 or 3 month period we should give the players, especially when they come from other leagues, because the game is so much different. Whether anywhere in Europe, Africa, South America, it's a possession-based game. It's completely different. But at the same time, I would say, if you come back to Fred, I would like to see something before Christmas. I think it's too easy to say he needs time to adapt, and it's a different game over here. Yes, 2 or 3 months, fine, but still you have to see something in them 2 or 3 months, and then I think by Christmas you've got to make a decision. Is he going to adapt? Will he adapt? Or will he be a player for us? Because in this day and age, a lot of money is paid for these players, and the managers don't really get time. So you have to make sure the players work as quickly as possible. And I think a 6 month period is more than enough to adapt and to adjust.
Yeah, Liam, I don't think Fred is much of a player, but leave Fred aside and